So the purpose of it all is, my purposes have changed throughout the years. I started in, for myself, I had certain goals for myself, and then time goes on, we get married. And now I think my purpose is being the supportive role in this and making sure that I can do what I can to help you succeed as an SGA in the business. And, it is a lot of sacrifice. There are a lot of times where it can be frustrating. It's not like all rainbows and daisies constantly. There are a lot of hardships and you spending countless hours, on the phone with your managers and coaching them up and doing spreadsheets, all these things. It is a sacrifice, but I think the biggest purpose is our people at this point.
Welcome to the Sacrifice Creates Opportunity podcast, coming to you from Playa del Carmen, Mexico. And actually, this is very impromptu. We didn't have any plans on recording or doing any recordings, but we were having so many great conversations on this trip where we're celebrating our Final Four for March Madness, our top performers, that we thought it might be a good idea to get some of this stuff, actually recorded so that we can share with everybody else. Please excuse any noise. Obviously, we are outside, and I think one of the rival agencies, maybe in our territory, hired a motorcycle driver to come up and down the street every single time that we do an interview.
It's the only time that it happens.
Yeah, it's been absolutely quiet around here, unless we're doing the podcast. But here we are, and so of course, be prepared to hear all different kinds of motorbikes and UFOs and helicopters. Who knows? We'll probably have a B-52 bomber, fly over us, But today we have a special guest, very, 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 very special guest, and it is my wife, the first lady of our organization. This is Daisy Vasu, and her name is not just the name of a flower. She is, as you can tell, just absolutely as beautiful as the most beautiful flowers that God ever created. And I'm very fortunate to call her my wife. And so today, I think it would be really, really good for us to have a conversation about not just the business, but also what it's like to build a business together. Because I do consider Daisy to be my partner in building the business that we are building together in the insurance industry. And so, Daisy, first of all, maybe talk a little bit about the main things you like about me the most and how attracted you are to me. Now, I'd like you to talk a little bit about, before American Income, how you got introduced to the company, and a little bit about the things that maybe attracted you to American Income, and, some of the things that you do for the business now.
It's a pretty loaded question there. Hi, everyone. So right out of college, I was obviously on a search for a career. I had no idea what I was going to get myself into. I got called to come in for an interview. So I am what they consider an RMS. Okay. So they called me in for an interview. I came in. I saw people making money. I had a lot of questions, though. It was not easy, I guess, to hire me. I had a lot of questions. Actually, Jay Washington's going to get a shout out on this. I had him on the phone for about 2 hours just asking him questions for what I know is like the final interview portion of it all. And then I started, and again, I saw a lot of people making money, so I wanted to be the one making money too. And so I did what I had to do. I consider myself a hard worker. I'm very confident in everything that I do typically. So I knew that this is something that I can do. If somebody else can do it, I can do it. And I just, grinded, I guess what they say, right? And I built my way up, throughout the years. And what was the next question? And, I just worked my way up. And so my transition from, an agent to an SA to a GA to an MGA, I've held all the, high leadership contracts that they have here in American Income. Mike and I, a couple years later into the business, we developed a relationship, and one, we wanted it to be fair. So we never wanted it to be a favoritism thing ever. And so we got to a point in our relationship where we felt like it would be best for me to move out of those roles and more into behind the scenes. And so I help with quality, which is the most important role, I would say. People want renewals and make money. That's the way to make sure that it's all good. So now I do quality and pipeline management. So I help, with all the managers that hire new people. I help them. I call myself the concierge of the agency. Any questions that they have, anything that they need, I help them. So that's what I do now.
I know you described a lot of what you do as more behind the scenes, but I wouldn't really agree with that. I think you're very much in the forefront of the organization, and the roles that you have are very, very important roles for us to be able to do the things that we do with our operation. And I think that was all born out of you really learning the business from the ground level and finding yourself in situations where you promoted yourself, working around excellent leaders that helped to develop you, whether it was Jay Washington or Mike Laramie. And so obviously we have so many people that we can be thankful for all of the good things that happen in our lives and the things that we learn over the years. But I want to particularly talk about something that I know that you're very passionate about, which is women leadership, women growing in the business, women succeeding in the business. And, whenever we do a battle of the sexes, the women always tend to beat the men. I mean, it's kind of embarrassing. It happens pretty much every single time. What do you think it is about women in our industry that allow them to be able to be so successful and so effective in the roles that they have, whether they're leaders or agents? Because you see women shining in all these different roles. And in a lot of companies, you don't see that. So what do you think it is about our company that allows women to do so well?
Well, for me, I think the women that come into this industry have that competitiveness in them just naturally. I don't think that this industry is for people that don't have that. So I think it's the mentality of, oh, he can do it, I can do it, and I can do it better. It's like one of those, it's like one of the only businesses that we can beat a man fairly, and unfortunately, there's a lot of companies out there where it is a male-dominant industry. The women work their way up slowly. The women have to, work their way up slowly to get a pay increase also. Here, it's like we determine our income, and it doesn't really matter if you're a man or if I'm a woman. We'll see who can write the most business or build the best team. It's one of those things. And it is hard being a woman in this industry. I mean, myself as an MGA, when I had, a team of people, I found myself struggling a little bit with the males on my team because we are naturally bred to where the man's the dominant one in the relationship or in whatever. And so for women, it's kind of hard to lead a man. And because you're embedded to not listen to a woman, and it's not even listening, it's it's natural for you to have that pushback. And so as a woman leader, those are my biggest challenges as a leader. But it's funny because I found myself wanting to work with men more because even though it was more challenging, they listened to certain areas of the business a little better. But women are hard workers in this business. I have seen from single moms, working long hours, making it work, to single girls that are just out of college doing just as good. So I think this industry just allows women to be great all around, however they want to be.
Yeah, I think we're, the opportunity is the opportunity, and what people do with the opportunity is up to them. And it doesn't matter if they're male or female or, if they're gender non-binary, we don't care. We want people to succeed, and we want people to exemplify the qualities that we look for in somebody that would be part of our organization. So speaking of that, with all your experience in the business and all the success you've had and all the things that you've seen, what are some of the things that you think are important? Like if you were to work with somebody, if you were to help someone be successful and you could identify the main qualities you wanted that person to have, what would be some of the qualities that you would want that person to have and why?
As you're asking me that, I was starting to think, I would want the person with the least amount of excuses. I can coach anybody if they don't allow excuses to get in the way. Like, if I don't have somebody telling me, and these are just examples, so I don't want to offend anyone here, but like, oh, I can't log in, and right now it's virtual, it's Zoom.
Right.
It's the easiest time to do this, but like, I don't want them to say, oh, I can't log in because my child has a stuffy nose tonight, and and again, that's probably a terrible example, but
You're speaking in generality.
Generally, I hear like the most lame excuses imaginable. Eliminating excuses is somebody I want to work with. Like, unless it's sincere and I really know, obviously that's different. Every situation's different and every circumstance is different. But somebody who doesn't have excuses, and I think I mirror that as a hard worker. 3 days after I had a C-section, I was working, making sure business was sent off, and I don't have to do that. I'm technically your wife. I'm not, we have staff that could handle those responsibilities, but I eliminate those excuses. My dad passes the next week, I'm doing coaching calls. I think I just eliminate those excuses for myself, so it's hard for me to accept them from other people. So that would be the biggest thing.
So yeah, I think everyone's threshold for their success is very closely linked to the excuses that they're willing to accept. And, for some people, their excuse is the reason why they can't do something. And for someone else, that exact same reason may be the reason why they do. And so, let's talk a little bit about, purpose, and let's talk a little bit about why we do what we do together, which is building this agency. What are the things why do you do this? What is it, as and as on the side of owning the business, it's a lot of sacrifice, right? And I think a lot of people probably don't realize how much sacrifice it really is to do this business. But what are you seeing in terms of the purpose and the why behind why we do what we do? How do you see it?
So the purpose of it all is, my purposes have changed throughout the years. I started in, for myself, I had certain goals for myself, and then time goes on, we get married. And now I think my purpose is being the supportive role in this and making sure that I can do what I can to help you succeed as an SGA in the business. And, it is a lot of sacrifice. There are a lot of times where it can be frustrating. It's not like all rainbows and daisies constantly. There are a lot of hardships, and you spending countless hours, on the phone with your managers and coaching them up and doing spreadsheets, all these things. It is a sacrifice, but I think the biggest purpose is our people at this point. We don't really do it for us anymore. We do it for the future of our children now, but it's really making sure like all of our agents and all of our managers that they succeed, because we want them to have for their families what we're blessed to have for ours. So.
Yeah, I would agree that's a big part of it. And that's a big, everyone, when you're doing something that's difficult or challenging, you have to find ways to be able to draw energy. And when you know that you're making someone else's life better, when you're helping someone make their family's lives better, when you're helping them achieve the things, not just that they need to achieve, but the things that they want to achieve, that is the ultimately, that's such a great feeling. What advice would you give, to spouses that are married to somebody that is in business, or they own a business, or they have a lot of things pulling at them in the business world? Like, that's very difficult. And, to understand that, and to understand how to be a good supportive, person, as you had mentioned before, to be a good supportive spouse is very challenging. How do you do that as well as you do? What are some tips, or what are pieces of advice that you can give?
Being that supportive role is the most important part, whether you're a male or a female, being, on whichever end you're on. But I always say you can't be on their back. You have to be, on their side. And that's huge, because if your spouse isn't bought into the business or into the opportunity, it's going to be very hard for you to succeed. And so, especially when you're starting, it's a grind. It is. There's long hours. There's, the higher you get up in management, the easier your hours become. It's just part of the business. And I think that the biggest part is the times that you do have off, really make sure your spouse knows you appreciate them. I always tell our guys, like, pick up some flowers on the way home. Just little gestures like that can go a long way. And I try personally, it's really hard, but I try to get a relationship with the spouses, as a spouse. I try to gain a relationship with them and try to help them understand that it will be worth it in the end. And hopefully these guys don't make me liars, right? Hopefully they are grinding and it will be worth it. And it is, but it's hard. It's very hard. It's hard to be in that role. I get it. And I'm in the business and I get it. It's still hard and I'm in it. So I can only imagine how hard it is for somebody that doesn't know the business. Right. It's really hard to understand and fathom. But I truly, truly believe that little gestures can go a long way in communication, open communication. Like, hey, honey, tonight I have to, make some coaching calls. I planned an outing for my team this weekend. You're more than welcome to come, but it's something I have to do with my team. Communication is the biggest part of a spouse supporting them.
So true. It's you're doing things together, and so when one person's trying to go in one direction and the other person is not supportive for whatever reason, it's very difficult for that person to do what they need to do. And if you're asking for spousal support, but you're not doing your part to be organized, to excel in the business, to make progress, it's kind of hard for your spouse to support you. I mean, they want to see that if they're going to support you, you really are all in and you're achieving these things that you say you want to achieve. So, it's a team effort, to become one when you're in a relationship. And so, that's, well said. And I think really, really great advice. I want to close out by just giving you the opportunity to share whatever's on your heart, in closing, whatever you're kind of thinking about or whatever you want to share. We're in this beautiful place, which, I do want to mention. I want to thank you for all the hard work that you did in planning everything. Everybody said they had an amazing time and that it was planned to perfection. And I can't take any credit for that because it was all you. But whatever's on your heart, whatever's on your mind that you want to share with everybody, I would encourage you to just kind of open up and share it with the camera. And it could be something short and sweet. It could be just hey guys, thanks for listening. But, whatever you want to share, this is your chance to really just be very, very open.
Wow. I'm really put on the spot here. I have a lot of things running through my mind. The part of me wants to continue talking about business, but then another part of me wants to talk about personal because we didn't really touch on our personal lives. We have 2 beautiful babies together, and then we have Abby, and they're all getting so big, so fast. Troy and Blair already 1 and 2, and Abby's 13. I think cherish the time you do have with your family. I know we're talking about the grind and how hard it is, and but life is really short. Yeah. I'm gonna cry, and I've really noticed that from losing my dad this past year. It's one thing to work hard. You want to support your family. You want to do everything you can for your family, but you also have to make sure you take that time to be with your family, to have those moments, to create memories with them, because you can make all the money in the world, but if you're too busy to be able to spend it making memories with your family, was it really worth it? So I guess that's on my heart to say, and thank you guys for listening. Sorry to end it on such a sad note, but it is what it is. But this was fun. Hopefully I can be invited to do this again.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that. I know how difficult it was losing your dad, who was, important to me as well. But, there's nothing like the relationship between father and daughter, especially the relationship that you and your dad had. And, family is everything. And, as you're working hard and you're building a business and you're putting in a lot of hours, I think the important thing is to be disciplined enough to set aside special time for the people that you love and that you care about. And we've seen that, for us, Daisy is my best friend, and there's nobody that I enjoy spending time with more than her. And, it's been really hard with 2 little kids to find the time to do that. But, we do one afternoon every single week where we do a date day, and we spend time with just the 2 of us together. And, we get time together, and, we could just, I don't know, we could just like stare at each other, and, it's still really special and still really, really good time. And in closing, to just kind of sum up what you shared, I heard this quote years ago, but the quote is that money is good, but in your pursuit of the things that money can buy, don't forget about the things that money can't buy, and prioritize each of those things appropriately. And I think you're going to be on your way to having great balance and a great life. And you can work hard and achieve all your financial goals, but you still always keep the most important things, because those things are priceless. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for joining us. Sacrifice creates opportunity. That's the motto. That's what I live by. It's what I believe. Daisy, thank you so much for being on.
Thank you.
And thanks for joining us here from the SEO podcast in Playa del Carmen, Mexico. Arriba!